Welcome to Nighttime Reflections. Tonight, we journey through a powerful story of loss, redemption, and the unfailing mercy of God. This is David's story of recovery, where even in the deepest moments of despair, God's grace shows us that we shall surely recover all. Whether you've lost something dear, or you're holding on by a thread, let this story remind you that in God's plan, nothing is lost forever. David was a warrior, chosen by God, yet even he faced moments of deep, crushing loss. One day, returning to their home in Ziklag, David and his men found devastation. Their homes were burned, and their families were taken captive. The men wept until they had no strength left to cry. David's heart was shattered. His own people spoke of stoning him, blaming him for the tragedy. Can you imagine the weight of that? But in the middle of that darkness, David didn't give up. He didn't let despair or anger guide him. Instead, he did what few would think to do. David turned to God. He cried out, "Lord, what should I do? Should I pursue them? Will I recover what was taken?" 1 Samuel 38. And the answer came like a light in the darkness. Pursue them. You will surely overtake them and recover all. God's promise was simple yet profound. David would recover what had been lost. Just like David, you may be standing in the ashes of something you once cherished, wondering if there's a way forward. And just like David, God is telling you, yes, there is. The Lord who promised David victory is the same God who promises you restoration. His word declares that no weapon formed against you will prosper. Isaiah chapter 54 verse 17. And in him, you are more than a conqueror. Romans chapter 8 verse 37. So, think about what you've lost, whether it's a relationship, a sense of purpose, or even your faith. God's grace is able to restore it all. His love is relentless, His promise is unbreakable, and His power unmatched. David's story is not only one of recovery, it's a story of God's unfathomable grace. Despite David's mistakes and despite the dire situation, God's mercy was greater than David's failures. And the same is true for you. You may feel like you've gone too far, lost too much, or made too many mistakes. But God's grace is deeper than any pit, and His mercy is greater than any loss. When God restores, He doesn't just give back what was lost, He gives even more. As David pursued the enemy, not only did he recover what was taken, but God gave him the victory, the spoils, and more than he had lost. This story teaches us a profound theological truth about God's nature. He is not a distant deity, but a personal, faithful Father who walks with us through every trial. His promises to us are not empty words. They are divine assurances sealed by His character. When God says you will recover all, it's not just a possibility, it's a certainty in His timing and His way. God's sovereignty means that nothing is ever truly lost in His hands. What looks like defeat in our eyes is only a setup for divine restoration. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, hold on to this truth. God's love for you is unshakable. His grace is sufficient, and His promises are true. Just as He was faithful to David, He will be faithful to you. Pursue, trust, and rest in His word, knowing that you will surely recover all. What has been taken from you will be restored, not by your strength, but by God's promise. Close your eyes tonight with the assurance that God's love will carry you, His peace will surround you, and His strength will restore you. You will recover all by His grace and mercy. Thank you for joining tonight's nighttime reflections. As you drift off to sleep, let your heart be filled with the comfort of knowing that God is faithful and nothing is ever too lost for Him to restore. Rest well in His promises tonight. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.